Ishwaram, as resplendent sun. It's the start of a bright new day. Time to rise, time to shine, Lord divine. Time to lead us along life's way. Awake, Lord of Buddha party. Awake, O Lord, over all mankind. Awake, O Lord of compassion. That the world good fortune may find.
Sairam to all of you. Now we shall begin the talk with the Omkar. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam, all of us who had the good fortune to stay in Prasanthi Nilayam this year on March 3rd and 4th must consider ourselves exceptionally fortunate, because Swami blessed the devotees this year with 2 marvelous discourses, and in addition revived the Akhanda Bhajan which had been suspended some years ago. And it's before the announcement yesterday about the Akhanda Bhajan and the discourse, people were very much doubtful whether Swami would celebrate Shivaratri this year at all. This was because Swami, I was present when Swami told the students in Vrindavan last month, no, in January itself, he told them, I am not sure whether we will have Shivaratri celebrations this year, either at Vrindavan or Prasanthi Nilayam. There was a reason for this. Swami had decided on pulling down the old canteen sheds and to erect something more comfortable and more spacious. And the demolition work began towards the end of January, and you can see that the work is going on the new structure. It's making a lot of noise and a lot of problems and so on. And Swami, when he hinted that Shivaratri was not likely to be celebrated this year, I think his intention was that by this indication, people would be deterred from coming to Prasanthi Nilayam for the sake of Shivaratri. But I don't know what God's ways are mysterious. Crowds started pouring into Prasanthi Nilayam, particularly from all the Telugu districts. From the third week or so of February, and as the Shivaratri day approached, March 2nd, the crowds grew to such large proportions. There was really absolutely no space for most of them in the sheds or anywhere. Hundreds and hundreds of them made their own makeshift arrangements under trees, in the open sky, anywhere where they could lay their heads on. They slept on pavements, they slept on everything like that, such large numbers. Now I think when the people had come expecting Swami to celebrate Shivaratri, Swami relented. Another important reason for Swami agreeing to the celebrations this year was a persistent demand from students that Akhanda Bhajan should be held. Swami had been a little upset with the students for some time past, recent past, because he felt that not all of them were coming up to the standards which he expects of students of the Satyasai Institute. Swami expects from all of us fairly high standards. He wants devotees to be an example to the world. They should change by the process of one lamp lighting another, of each person, by the very manner of living, producing a change in the atmosphere around him. See, this is because the entire growth of the Sai movement has been only on this basis of each person communicating his own experience, the way Swami influenced him or helped him or cured him and so on. And this going on from one person to another. Swami has never believed in high-level publicity and so on. And in fact, for many years, centers abroad were told not to make public announcements of their meetings. I remember very well Hislop taking Swami's special permission to convene one public meeting and making an announcement in the press. And when Professor Kasturi wrote his first book, the first part of the autobiography of Swami, it was full of the early miracles, boyhood miracles and so on. And they had collected it with the usual assiduity of a historian. He was a great professor of history. And I am told that when he was a lecturer in the Mysore College, the students from other departments, physics, mathematics or anything, used to absent themselves from their classes to listen to Professor Kasturi's lectures, because he was such a delightful lecturer. And when he wrote this biography, the first part, Swami didn't allow him to publish it for 10 years. After asking him to write the book, first of all, he wouldn't give him permission to write. After giving him permission and after he had written the book, he said, if people read the book, they will think all these are cock and bull stories invented by an old man for the glorification of some obscure lad from Puttaparthi. Nobody will. People must know my miracles well enough before your book is brought out, so that when they see the book, they will say, oh, we know much more than what Professor Kasturi has written. That is how. And therefore, he did not allow them. Swami's fame spread long before the book was published. And mainly by the fact that people who came here, and these were not, in those days, visits to Puttaparthi were not at least the kind of thing which you have, with bus services, all kinds of, including an aeroplane service and all the taxis and so many things. It used to be a regular ordeal to come here by bullock cart, walking some miles, crossing the river Chitravati, the sands of the river, there was not much water, and so all this, the people used to go through all these ordeals in those days, before the 60s, for coming to Swami. And in spite of that, the name spread. Here is a marvelous boy, he does wonders, and so on, all kinds of things. And from that time, this movement has grown mainly by word of mouth, by the stories related by others, and so on. Today, there was a time when the newspapers would not touch any story about Baba with a pair of tongs. They used to think, oh, this person is some kind of magician. We should not write anything about him. Now they are all vying with each other, coming here, making all kinds of trips and begging Swami, give us an interview. And Swami says, I give you an interview, you write something else in your papers. The less of your publicity, the better for me. My devotees are my media. They are the media through whom I want to change the world, not through you fellows. You fellows have got so many other interests. You are more interested in 10 murders in some country than in the promotion of spiritual truths. This is how Swami tells them the truth. Now, so Swami's movement has grown like this, and therefore, when devotees coming today in such large numbers, especially from every part of the world, Swami is finding it, only Swami can manage this kind of thing. Only Swami could. You see, there was a time when there was a small Shanti Vedika. That was demolished and replaced by the Purnachandra Auditorium. The Purnachandra Auditorium was not enough, and then the Hillview Stadium. And now I don't know where the next World Conference will be held in 1995, whether even the Hillview Stadium will be enough. Because already we found that in 1990 it was barely enough. And the Shanti Vedika, which was built for the 1985 conference, is now already becoming too small for and the whole. And Swami had to provide for what is called internal circuit TV, so that people could watch what was going on the Shanti Vedika and so on. So this thing is growing, and it was because large numbers of people had come to Prasanthi Nilayam that Swami gave us this year the benefit of 2 discourses, and I should say these are 2 historic discourses. The discourse on the first day, on the March 2nd evening, covered a wide ground, but the message, what was the essential message which Swami wanted to give? The essential message is that people think that it is God's business to shower His grace on them and that they have no role to play. Swami pointed out. Swami began with a wonderful analogy. That is, here is a farmer who has got seeds. Now, he may expect to grow a crop by scattering the seeds. But if there is no rain, the seeds will not sprout. So rain is essential. But if the rain is there, but if the farmer has not plowed his land and prepared the soil and sowed the seeds, there will be no harvest to reap. No crop will come up. So Swami says, Bhagavan's Daiva Anugraha, God's grace, is there, is necessary, like rain for the crop to grow. But Manusha Prayatra, the human effort, The farmer must plow the land, must prepare the soil, must sow the seeds. So, both these things are essential. And Swami therefore said, and the main form of the main method of acquiring God's grace in the present age of Kali is, according to the scriptures also, is a very simple one. He says, in the Kali age, people are distracted by 100 desires. They live, you see, because primarily you may say that the pre-industrial society was a rural society. It was predominantly, whether it be in Europe or England or America or here, after all, Abraham Lincoln grew in a log cabin, in a farm, in a country area, countryside. Now those, within the past 150 to 200 years, there has been a tremendous growth of urbanization and so on. And so, the thing is, the scriptures, the sages who wrote the scriptures, got the intimations from the divine. These people in the Kali age are a hectic people. They must have a simple means of reaching God, of acquiring devotion. And what is the simple means for the Kali age? Is the recitation of the name of the Lord. So, this is not Swami, almost from the very beginning of his public discourses, has always been emphasizing this Namasmarana. Apart from the fact that Namasmarana is given by Prahlada in the Bhagavatam as one of the many forms of bhakti, but here Swami says this is is now essential and easy. Anybody can practice. You can say, that's why Swami says, in speaking about the significance of Shivaratri, Swami made a nice point. He said, treat every night as a Shivaratri. But that doesn't mean you should keep vigil over a whole night. Swami says, before going to bed, utter a small prayer. O Lord, forgive me for all the sins I might have committed wittingly or unwittingly. Let me, if I have offended anybody, I seek His forgiveness and your forgiveness. Let me have a peaceful sleep and ensure that I have a peaceful, quiet night. And when you get up in the morning, O Lord, one more day my life begins. Let me do no harm to anybody. Let me, whatever good I can do, let me do. See to it that I do not stray from the path of righteousness and goodness, and let me be loving. See, Swami says that the formula for inner joy for everybody is, he says, start the day with love, fill the day with love, end the day with love. It's a very simple formula, Swami. So Swami here says, as often as you can, remember the name of the Lord. And then there is no particular name which is recommended. It doesn't matter anybody. Some people, you see, Hanuman is not exactly a god, but some people worship Hanuman as equating with God. And there is a view among the Vaishnavites that a devotee of God is even greater than God. And one of the famous stories of Swami is a story in which he says, Narada and the Lord have a debate. So to tease Narada, the Lord says, Narada, what do you think is the greatest thing in the world? And then when he is still thinking for an answer, he says, don't you think the world is the biggest thing? Yes, your Lord. What Narada? The world is only 1/4 land, 3/4 is water. Is not the ocean greater than the Lord? Yes, Lord, you are right, the ocean is greater. Then he says, what ocean The sun sucks up the whole thing and evaporates and it all becomes a cloud and so on. Is not the cloud greater? And so on and so on, and right up to it, they come to it saying, ultimately they say, the Lord leads Narada to the answer. The Lord is the greatest thing in the world. Yes, yes, Lord, you are the greatest. And at that moment he says, what, Narada? Any devotee can bind me and restrict my movements because I am bound to my devotees. So the devotee is greater than the Lord. So he shows like that. Now therefore, devotion, Swami says, what can be achieved by sincere devotion is incalculable. And the English poet Tennyson says, more things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. And this is a truth, Swami shows. And of course we receive any number of examples of devotees who have experienced this in their own lives by merely in a crisis uttering the word Sai Ram. Somebody, one day a lady was threatened by a dacoit and she was helpless, utterly helpless. All that she could say was Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. And something happened to these dacoits. There's something they left. She says she has written, this happened years ago. And the lady sends that story for publication in Sanathana Sarathy. Only thing is I am unable to publish these stories because Swami says, my dear fellow, if you start publishing such stories, they will come pouring from every part of the world. And it is, apart from the Sanathana Sarathy being too small, all the volumes of the encyclopedia will not be enough. They are happening in some thousands of cases. So Swami said, we have to see, although devotees are anxious to show their gratitude by giving this kind of stories, there is no scope, but this is happening. So Swami said in the first day speech, there are two parts to that speech. One is the importance of chanting the Lord's name as often as possible. The other was the significance of the word Rama. And one point many people have not noticed, I don't know whether you noticed it. Swami said, Rama, the word Rama, does not merely refer to the Rama avatar. Swami says, this name Rama as applied to the divine existed much earlier than even the advent of Rama. Vasishtha gave the name Rama to the eldest son of Dasharatha because the name existed earlier. And it really means the one who pleases. And this is the role of the divine. The divine is one who pleases. Ramayati the Rama. So Swami said, it becomes one of the attributes of Rama. Because Rama was as an avatar, he showed many of the divine qualities. But Swami said, Rama represents many things. He said Rama is the unified principle of the sun, the Agni, fire god, and the moon. Of course, the Swami, once he starts explaining the inner significance of various words, various symbols, and so on, the esoteric and spiritual meaning behind many words, it's a complete voyage of discovery of the inner meanings of many things which we understand only superficially by their external meanings. So Swami goes on, you see how every term used in the scriptures has got an inner spiritual meaning. And even the Ramayana and the Bhagavatam and the Bharatam have all got a spiritual, esoteric, inner meaning apart from the external and ordinarily understood meanings of these stories. So Swami pointed out how the word Rama has a unique significance for the purpose of chanting the Lord's name. Now, one interesting point which I should like to mention in this connection is that we have in the Hindu tradition the recitation of the different names of the Lord. For instance, there is a 1,000 Sahasranama for even Bhagavan Baba. And of course, the most ancient and most revered 1,000 names is the Vishnu Sahasranama. There are other deities who have also got these 1,000 names. Now, one of the interesting things about the Vishnu Sahasranama is that at the end of the names, there is a description of the benefits to be derived by the man or the person, whoever recites these 1,000 names. And this is one of the things which completely changed my attitude to the Vishnu Sahasranama. Namely, one of the benefits says is, na krodho na cha matsaryam, na lobho na ashubha matihi, bhavanti krita punyanam bhaktanam purushottame. This shloka says, whoever is a devotee of the Lord, for whom, in him, a genuine devotee, punya, he should be a person engaged in good meritorious deeds. For such a devotee, anger leaves him. Anger flies away from him. Na krodho na cha matsaryam. His envy doesn't approach him anywhere. Na lobho, greed doesn't. Na ashubha matihi. No inauspicious or bad or evil thought occurs to him. Bhavanti krita punyanam bhaktanam purushottame. The devotee of the Lord gets rid of anger, of envy, of greed, and of every evil thought and action. Ashubhamati. Now, I felt that if by merely developing devotion to the Lord, these bad qualities will leave me of their own accord. I said, let me try devotion. I began my career for some time as an atheist, and I used to have very heated arguments with my father-in-law saying that it is not necessary to be a believer in God to be a good man. I said, I am going to be a good man in spite of disbelief. And I discovered that the disbelievers ultimately became not merely atheists, but the enemies of mankind. I saw them, how they developed in the Soviet Union under Stalin and Beria and so on, how they sent millions of people to Siberia and so on. And so, the recovery of faith in God became important because faith in God is ultimately the source of real goodness, real love. No man can be a real lover of his fellow man unless he has a faith in God. This was the profound truth which Aurobindo declared when he said, the French Revolution preached liberty, equality and fraternity. The liberty ended in the execution of many of the leaders of the French Revolution on the guillotine. The equality was lost within a few years when Napoleon became the emperor. And as for fraternity, they are yet to discover how fraternity is to be achieved. And Aurobindo said, fraternity is a spiritual concept. It is only when I can have a real brotherly feeling towards you, only when I realize that the spirit within you and the spirit within me is the same. It is a spiritual concept. And Swami wants to build a real fraternal mankind, a mankind having its faith in fraternity only on the basis of faith in God, of the fact that God is the real father of all mankind, of all beings. So this is the essence. Now therefore, Swami, this devotion is therefore, Swami has emphasized how devotion is essential for the realization of God. And then Swami developed this idea, has also developed in other discourses, that devotion is not merely a chanting of names or counting of rosary beads or sitting alone in a room and performing japa or meditation. This is not. He says, unless devotion expresses itself in various forms of good action. You see, so Papa Bhiti, Daiva Priti, Sangha Niti. Swami in one birthday discourse said that there must be fear of sin, there must be love of God, and there must be social morality. But people must have a social consciousness and be aware of their responsibilities to society. So, and then Swami again and again says, any belief, any opinion, any whatever you may profess, whatever doctrines or philosophy or religion you may profess, if it doesn't manifest itself in your life, in your actions, you may as well not profess it. It has no significance. In fact, I have been reading a journal of a Danish philosopher called, I read it as Kierkegaard, but some people pronounce it as churchyard or something like that. But this philosopher, I found us carrying on a campaign against the Christianity of his time, saying there is no one who really believes in Christ. All the preachers preach for 1 hour at the church on Sundays and lead the same life as other people during the rest of the week. What kind of Christianity is this? Swami therefore wants that at least it doesn't mean that we become angels or saints or martyrs overnight. That is, it's a long process. But unless you make the effort, you are merely, all religions, all virtues, all these are purely mental or verbal concepts. They mean nothing. You see, if a man is not prepared to pay the price for his truth, for his integrity, what is the use? I mean, therefore Swami says, try to see, because all the stories, even the life of Jesus, its supreme lesson is the preparedness to pay the price for your convictions. You see, because the whole thing was, when you convert a temple into a marketplace, Christ felt outraged. We are converting all temples into marketplaces. And that is why Swami says, an educational institution in the Indian language is called Vidyalaya, namely a temple of learning. The temple of learning, when you demand so many different fees for admissions, for promotions, for getting marks and so on, you have converted education into a marketable commodity. And this is what I want to prevent. That's why I have started an institute in which no fees will be charged, and we want teachers with the spirit of dedication, for whom the imparting of knowledge to young people is a divinely ordained vocation. This is what Swami wants. So what I am saying is, a devotion that doesn't express itself in a transformation of your life has no meaning. It's like saying mambo jumbo. You can go on reciting the name. That's why Swami, in this morning's discourse, made it even more, namely the intensity of feeling with which you recite the bhajan, the amount of understanding with which you recite a song. This is what is most important. Now, in my view, Swami had traced the history of the origin of the bhajan as a community singing. He traced it to Nanak, the founder of the Sikh faith. He said he was the person who realized the value of community singing and developed it into a thing. But far beyond anything Nanak could achieve, Swami has made the bhajan the most universal method of bringing together people as spiritual aspirants who in their common prayer sanctify the atmosphere of their whole place, of their town, of their village, of their city, of their homes and so on. This is the process. And Swami says, it's not mere the words that matter, this feeling with which you utter. What is the way, and then Swami says, let us not make any mistake about the power of words. You see, the power, because that's why he said, these words remain for the moment they appear after you have spoken and the waves have merged in the atmosphere. But he says they remain for a long time, and the waves, the vibrations go up, get mixed with the clouds, and they come back as rain. And all these ideas, the sacred ideas which you have said in your bhajan, you see, come back and fertilize the soil and change the very character of the food you eat. Because this is the power of these words. So Swami, it's one of the earliest discoveries of the Indian sages that words, the power of mantras is something remarkable, something they say. And of course, there are people who can still use the power of mantras for many remarkable purposes, for effecting cures, for averting evil, many other things, mantras. And this is one of the earliest discoveries of the Indian sages, the power of mantras. And I was recently reading a book called Prayer by a French missionary who was working in India, who was a great student of the Upanishads. And he goes into raptures over the power, over the spiritual significance and the potency of the pranava, of the Om. He has written, this book is a small book. The man has been a great student of the Upanishads, of the Vedanta. And he says the Indian sages discovered the power of these mantras. And he particularly says the Om is a primeval sound which has got such potency. Once Swami explained that Om really compresses within itself the entire gamut of sounds which the human voice can produce. How? He said, it consists of 3 syllables. A, U, He says, when you say A, you open the mouth. When you say you close the mouth. All the sounds the mouth is capable of producing are compressed between the A with which you open the mouth and in the with which you close the mouth. And the most scientific way in which the Indian alphabet, the Sanskrit alphabet has been constructed is one of the remarkable achievements in philology, in the whole language of it. Because when you see the way the vowel structure has been, how it is developed, A, E, U, E, I, O, Au, and the whole sound, then for everything, Ka, you see, I found when I was experimenting with this structure that you begin with Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa, and then Ya, Va, Ra, La. You see the tongue starting with Ka at the most distant of the upper side of the mouth comes, when it comes to Pa, Ba, Ma, comes to the lips. Now the whole process of producing sounds is so very scientific, the way in which the consonants have been evolved in the Sanskrit language. And therefore, sounds, the power of sound has always been a thing which fascinated the Indian spiritualists and the Indian sages. And therefore, therefore you see the Vedas, which means so much as the revelations of the eternal to man about the nature of the universe and the nature of God, these have been preserved in their pristine purity by generations of people who have followed the system of how to recite it and so on. It's one of the most marvelous things in the world that the Vedas could be preserved in this form, in their purity, by generations and generations of Vedic chanters and so on. And then this missionary has quoted profusely from the Upanishads and so on. And he is the author of a book called The Meeting Point Between Hinduism and Christianity. He feels that the two religions should come together, should understand each other and so on. And he says, and there are many others like Romain Rolland and others who have pointed out that the outpourings of Indian mystics and stages have their counterpart in the outpourings of European mystics and so on, or of Muslim mystics and various. Because at the level of the mystics, people are really one with the universal. And the language which they speak is a common language, is the language of the spirit. The voice that speaks is the voice of the divine. So Swami says, this morning, was Swami, what I wanted to say was that the power of the bhajan, of community, which was understood by Nanak, has been made today a global phenomenon by Swami. Imagine, for instance, what happens on that Sunday in November, when all the Sai Samitis in the world observe Akhanda Bhajan. It's one of the unique spiritual experiences ever conducted in the world. You see, of course, Christmas is celebrated and so on. But this is a unique thing because everywhere it starts at 6 p.m. of Sunday and ends on 6 p.m. of Sunday. And because of the change in timings, when it starts in Fiji or Tokyo in the east at 6 p.m., by the time it ends at Vancouver or Hawaii, the 24 hours would have gone. While the bhajans would be concluded, the Akhand Bhajan in Tokyo, they would just be perhaps in Hawaii. Now, but it is the same Saturday, Sunday timings. But the point is, people in so many different countries performing Akhanda Bhajan and proclaiming in their songs the glory of God, but even more invoking the power of the divine for the progress and welfare of humanity is a unique phenomenon which Swami has developed. And that is why Swami, because the bhajan has become one of the essential features of the activities of Sai devotees on the spiritual side, he wants to develop the bhajan in the right spirit. When you sing the bhajan, you should understand the meanings of the words. Now this is one of the difficulties because people who are not familiar with Indian and so on, when the Indian gods are mentioned and so on, they may find it difficult. But we are soon learning many things, just as Indians are learning much about Zoroaster and Christianity and Judaism and so on. The other people also have to learn because essentially we are moving towards a kind of common basic beliefs are based on the fundamental spiritual and human values which Swami has propagated. Now, this morning, Swami, if you see the bhava, raga and tala, he said, three things are essential for a good bhajan, a good song. What is it? The first requisite is bhava. When you sing a song, you must feel yourself, you must bring out the feeling of the song. This is the greatness of Saint Tyagaraja. Namely, every one of his kirtanas, his songs, came from the depths of his soul, and therefore they have an appeal which is really which is unique. Every one of his songs, and that is why you will find that so often Swami recites Tyagaraja's songs. But because once Swami revealed at a meeting, you know who taught Tyagaraja's song music? I said. So you can see that Tyagaraja's music was inspired by the divine. So when we sing songs, we must get into the spirit. Raga Swami gave. Raga means the melody, the tune. And Tala means the beat. You see because nothing is so obnoxious to the ear as a discordant note. So when you sing a song, people should sing in harmony, in combined, and said Swami praised. They made a distinction between the kirtan and the sankirtan. The kirtan is a song which a person recites to himself, because after all people can sing in their homes, in their own shrine and so on, family house, in the shrine home. But Sankirtan is people coming together. And Sankirtan as a word has meanings. Sankirtan is kirtan which is sung together. And also it means Samyak Kirtan, singing well, singing beautifully, singing meaningfully, singing out of the depths of your heart. This is Sankirtan. And Swami says, this is how the bhajans should be conducted. And when they are conducted in that spirit, they give you an experience, they give you a joy which cannot be described. You see, every year the Akhanda Bhajan will start with a first song by one of the students who has a powerful voice and so on. Akhand Jyoti Jalao. Sai, it's a prayer, with saying, O Lord, light the eternal flame within my heart. Akhanda Jyoti Jalao Sai Manamandir me. In the temple of my mind or heart, light the eternal flame of love of God. Now, when he begins that song, I have always found, I have been thrilled by the way, you see, because he would do it immediately after Swami lights the lamp for the Akhanda Bhajan. And you see, and the power of light again, Swami once told a conference of Seva and volunteers, be lamps of love. When Swami said that, so the story said, with one lamp you can light 1,000 lamps. This is the power of the flame. And this, an English poet says, as one lamp lights nor grows less, so nobleness enkindleth nobleness. One lamp lights another, and it doesn't grow less, it continues to have the flame. Like that he says, one good act sets in motion another good act from somebody else, and still this man's goodness doesn't diminish. Love is one of those marvelous qualities which grow by sharing. It doesn't diminish. Your love diminish if you show your love to another. If you transmit joy to somebody, your joy doesn't go down. It's not like if you have a bank balance, if you share it with others, that will go down. But the balance of bank balance is really inexhaustible. And the more you give it, the more it will grow within you. This is the secret of love. This is what this Swami says. The more you experience joy within yourself and share it with others, the more joy you feel. And therefore, Swami says, Bhava, Raga, Tala. When you sing in this way, the whole community, and I found that many people, newcomers to Prasanthi Nilayam. In the old days, I myself, when I first came in 79, and I saw thousands of people following the lead singer with such accuracy, with no deviation, with no discarded note. I was amazed. Tutored or rehearsed or trained. But because they felt one with the singer, because they felt one with everybody else, they all joined in the bhajan in the most remarkable fashion. You know, years ago I saw an interesting cartoon in which the church, the banners, the painter has given the picture. And who sang the words of the wrong song. He is in the middle of the whole order, singers. And everybody has turned his angry eyes on this fellow. You see, because he was singing the wrong song. But something similar happened in Sicily, in a church. There was a marriage going on, and the choir started singing some hymns. And in that choir group, there was one Sai devotee. He was a musician, a good musician. Somehow, while the singing was going on, he started singing Shambho Mahadeva. And imagine the reaction of the priest. He said, "You fellow, you bring in Shambho Mahadeva in a Christian wedding?" And he got so angry, the fellow was withdrawn from the choir group. And then he came and told me the story. He said, "This is what happened." He's a great Sai devotee. I told him, "Don't worry. That is the only wedding which is not likely to end in a divorce." Because I said, it was a wedding in which Shambho Mahadeva was mentioned. Even by a kind of, by a lapse on your part. I said, "Sir, the greatness of Shiva is, he carries his concert within as one half of himself. So that wedding, that couple will never part." He really, and that's what I told him. But the thing is, what I wanted to say was that when we have our bhajans, this unity, the unity of spirit, unity of singing, all these should come in, and therefore Swami brought out beautiful examples to this body. It was a short but beautiful thing conveying the importance of the bhajan and how bhajans should be sung, and the spirit in which, and above all, the final result must be greater harmony among the devotees. This is the purpose. The purpose of coming together is to develop greater harmony, mutual regard and love, and this is how the new change has to be brought about. So Swami, and in these two discourses together, Swami has brought out one of the important duties of devotees. Duties of devotees. Their devotion must become genuine. Their devotion must express itself in good thoughts, good actions, good speech and so on. And whenever, and they should bring about a change in the whole community by the way they live, by the way, and the way it all depends. You see, I should say, the people very often feel that things are not changing as rapidly as possible, so many things are, but we can't see. There are many things, as Swami's analogy is, you look at a tree, you see the branches, the flowers, the fruits and so on. You don't see what is that they're responsible for all that the beautiful things which you see in it. They are all underground. The roots which go deep into the soil, spread themselves all over the ground and suck the water, suck the manure, suck the nutrition and supply it to this tree. This is how it's going on. And he says each devotee can be like the roots of a new movement. It will be unseen. The power of the devotees will be unseen, but they will change. Who could have imagined? You see, here are two Italian doctors who have given up all very lucrative practice in Italy and have come to serve Swami hospital. And they feel completely happy to serve the Lord. You see, when a rich man went to Christ and asked, Lord, what shall I do? Sell all thou hast and follow me. This is the message which Christ gave. This is Swami's message. Because if you don't sell it, someday somebody will auction it for your debts. Whatever will happen, how long will you hold your property? So the Sanskrit saying is, Sukritam dushkritam chaiva gachantam anugacchati. What is it that follows you when you cast off this mortal coil and you have to answer for your actions in the next world or in the next life? What is it that follows you? Sukritam dushkritam chaiva. Your good and bad deeds. These are the things which follow the soul from life to life until it achieves oneness with the divine. Sukritam dushkritam chaiva. So Swami says, all the exercises, bhajans, namasmarana, and then Swami referred also, this morning he said the four different types of bhajans. You see, the guna, bhava, leela and nama. He says, you can praise you can merely recite the names of the Lord. You can go on praising the glories, the qualities of the Lord. The whole of the Quran consists only of prayers, describing the Allah as the all merciful, all compassionate, all just, all loving, and so on. And like that we have all our prayers also. You see, we have prayers, Swami also, we have so many bhajans on Swami and all that. Guna. Then Leela, Swami gave the example of Jayadeva's book where Gita Govinda, in which he experienced the Leelas of Krishna in his songs. And Swami again points out that some of these things have an inner meaning different from the outer meaning. The outer, externally it may seem it's a story of the love of Krishna to the Gopikas and the Radha and so on. But Swami says it's really a metaphoric or an esoteric theme explaining the love of the individual souls for the Paramatma, for the divine. And this is how it expresses itself. Namely, when the Gopika is separated from the divine, from Krishna, she feels all the agony of separation. And then when Krishna comes to her, she feels the joy of the union, of coming together. Now he says, the joy of the soul coming to the divine is something inexpressible. He says that they compares it with the river merging in the ocean from which it had originally come. It goes back, going back to the source. Swami says that these are the kind of experiences which the devotee should draw. These experiences should be really felt by him or her in the various spiritual action, bhajans and other things which they do it. And Swami especially emphasized what the value of community singing. And I should say these two discourses have to be studied very carefully, because many of them might not have understood in the process of translation or so on. But when we publish them in the Sanathana Sarathy in a connected form, you will be able to see the significance of these discourses. Swami, you see, so many different ways Swami is trying to drive home a number of vital messages. Of course, the most vital message which Swami wants to convey to all of us today is realize that you are the divine, that the divine is within you. This is because this is the experience you must acquire. And therefore he says, even when you are breathing, actually the breath is conveying to you your oneness with the divine. It's a very, once Hislop asked the Swami, how do you say that the breath is giving me the message, Soham, I am he, I am he, Soham. He and I are one. But then Swami said, Soham. It to show that actually if you are able to be conscious of the breathing process, because the Upanishad says, Pranam Rameti Vyajanat. This was the discovery which Bhrigu made after his penance. Namely, that the life breath itself is the Brahma. Of course, he didn't end there, he went further. And ultimately he made the discovery, Anandam Brahmeti Vyajanat. That is the goal, that is the stage which we have to reach, because the divine is pure, unalloyed, perfect, enduring, unchanging bliss. This is the divine nature of the divine. And Swami says, don't imagine it is some impossible thing for you. It is you achieve it. This is the confidence which Swami tells us. And on the basis of not only on the basis of his own divinity, on the basis of the authority of the revelations made in all the scriptures, primarily the Vedas and the Upanishads. This realization, and Swami says, this realization is possible for every one of us. And the means are primarily purification of the heart, bhajans, reciting the name, because you can't use abusive words while you are thinking of Om Namah Shivaya, or Om Namo Narayanaya, or Oh Lord Jesus, whatever it is, or Allah. You see, you can't be uttering the name of the Lord and using the tongue for any other purpose. And then today Swami said, we should realize that each one of our organs has a sacred purpose. This is, of course, the teaching which Prahlada makes in the Bhagavata, where he says, Kamalakshu Natsunsu Karamulu Karamulu. Hands which do not offer worship to the Lord are not hands at all. They are like two pieces of dead wood hanging from a body. Kamalakshu Natsunsu Karamulu Karamulu Srinath Vardinsu Jihva Jihva. Only that tongue can be given the name tongue which praises the name of the Lord. And another great saint says, what are the functions to be done by the various organs in the body? He says, Jihve Kirtaya Keshavam. O tongue, praise the glories of the Lord. Jihve Kirtaya Keshavam. Muraripu Cheto Bhaja. O hands, offer worship to the Lord. Cheto Bhaja Sridharam Panidvanva Samachaya. With both the hands go on making offerings to the Lord, Archaya. Panidvanva Samachaya. Achyuta Katha Shrotradvayam Tvam Shunu. What is it? The ears, Swami said this morning, the ears should not listen all kinds of scandal and gossip and all kinds of silly stories about others. What should they hear? He says, Jihve Kirtaya Kesha Muraripum Cheto Bhaja Sridharam Panidvanva Samarchaya Achyuta Katha Shotradvayam Shunu. Both the ears. You should hear, both the ears should be used only for listening to the stories of the Lord, the message of the Lord, the songs of the Lord. These are the things. Shrotaradvayam. Krishnam lokaya. O eyes, behold the image of the Lord. Wherever you turn, see the image of the Lord of Bhagavan. You see, there was a devotee of Swami in Bangalore, one Mr. Singh, who recently passed away. In his house, wherever you turned, there was one attractive or another attractive picture of Baba. He was a tremendous devotee. So, Krishnam lokaya locha lotvayahare kachangri ibbalayam. Swami said, what is the use of legs? The legs must carry you to the temple of the Lord. The legs, you say, and not to go into alleys and bylanes and so on. Swami said that. Jigragra mukunda pada tulasim. What is it that the nose should smell? Nostrils. Jigragrana mukunda pada tulasim. The tulasi that has been offered to the Lord, smell that, because it has got the fragrance of the divine. Jigragrana mukunda pada tulasi murdranna madhoksha. Oh head, what should you do? Place your head at the feet of the Lord. You see, murdranna madhoksha. So for everything, Swami said that today. Swami pointed out that is, every limb, every organ, as far as possible, make it sacred, make it holy. And I just now remember that one of the points which he made yesterday was, why are festival days set up for people in all different religions? Why are they? Why do you celebrate a festival? Swami said, the holy day should, every festival, a holy festival, should be celebrated as a holy festival. It is the unique contribution of Swami Prasanthi Nilayam that festivals are celebrated here in the holiest manner, in the holiest spirit. This is the greatest. You see, Christmas is celebrated here in the most marvelous way. I mean, where you can see the shining faces of men, women and children carrying candles and singing carols in an utter spirit of devotion. It's a remarkable thing, you see. So, that is why Swami says, festivals are intended to remind you about your duty to God, about your love of God, and to see every moment you begin to think of God. You see, because as the Bible is in the Beatitudes, blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God. Purity. These festivals are occasions for purifying ourselves, for getting rid of all the muck within us, and then trying to make ourselves holy, sacred, pure, loving, compassionate, and so on. These are the things which we have to develop. So, I say, carry the message of this Shivaratri, because somebody says, Shiva is not anybody's private property. Shiva belongs to the whole of humanity because he is one other name for God. God's name, and Swami therefore said, people go on fighting between Shiva and Vishnu, who is greater, who is, and so on. And Swami pointed out that all the attributes of Vishnu are to be found in Shiva, and all the attributes of Shiva may be found in Allah, and so on. They are all, I mean, you can attribute anything to God because He is the universal. So, and Swami again said, the name is more important than the form. It's because Swami says, if you describe a person in the form alone, in a big crowd, nobody would be able to answer whether it applies to him, because he may think there may be somebody other with the same form. But if you say, Mr. Rangaya from Bukkapatnam, that's enough. Rangaya, get up. So he says the name is more important than form. And the worship of the name should be done in the right. Swami says, use festivizations for developing the right attitude to your religion and to other religions. And then develop respect for all religions, all faiths and so on. And then whatever worship you do, whatever method and so on, do it with purity of heart and with the welfare of the whole of mankind in view. Because Swami was giving the example yesterday of how to become one with the divine. He said, he gave the analogy of a balloon filled with air and the whole atmospheric air outside. The balloon can imagine, oh, the air I contain is very precious and so on. But he says it is the same air as outside. And when it begins to expand, when it develops a broader conception, yes, I am not this air alone. I am the whole universe. When you begin Soham, when the balloon realizes that the air confined within the walls of the balloon is the same as the universal air outside, and when it has discovered that thing by bursting open or by leaking the air, it becomes one with the divine. And Swami says that is the ultimate goal which we must aim at, the realization of our oneness with the divine. So, I hope you will carry the message of Swami's this Shivaratri message and reflect on the message more and more and make it a part of your life. Thank you very much. We shall now conclude with our usual, hey, good heavens. I've been speaking for far beyond my scheduled time. Now, we'll conclude with our usual prayer for the benefit of the whole of mankind. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino